Okay, let's dive into this. Welcome to The Explainer. If you're finally pulling the trigger on that once-in-a-lifetime safari or hunting trip, you already know the anticipation is absolutely incredible. Whether you're heading down to Southern Africa or checking out popular spots like Kenya, the actual logistics, well, they can be a bit of a jungle if you don't know the ropes. Today, we're going to break down the definitive first-timer's guide using a highly practical strategy mapped out in our source material. We'll look at the exact timing for booking, how to survive that brutal international flight without breaking the bank, and the local travel secrets that will save you from some major headaches once your boots finally hit the ground. So here's our flight plan for today. We're breaking this journey down chronologically. First, booking your adventure. Second, surviving the long haul. Third, the Johannesburg layover. And fourth, navigating those tricky regional baggage rules.
Let's start with Section 1, booking your African adventure. Because a flawless, smooth trip actually begins way before you even drag that suitcase out of the closet.
So say you're traveling during the peak hunting months in Southern Africa, which are June, July, and August. You're going to be competing with a ton of other eager travelers. So when exactly should you book? The sweet spot, believe it or not, is exactly 330 days out. That's when international airfare generally goes on sale. The logic here is pretty simple. You want to snag those prime seating arrangements before the masses do, because as you get closer to the summer, availability dries up and the airlines are definitely going to start jacking up those prices. Lock in your seat early and save your hard-earned cash for the actual adventure. Moving right along to Section 2, surviving the long haul. Now, what's really interesting about this next part is how we tackle the most intimidating hurdle of the whole trip, that grueling 17-hour marathon. Picture this. You're flying direct from Atlanta to Johannesburg on Delta Airlines. You've got a massive choice to make right off the bat. Standard economy? It's tight. 17 hours is a ridiculously long time to have your knees jammed into the seat in front of you. But if you bump up to Delta's economy comfort option, you snag an extra 5 inches of legroom and a bit more recline. Now, 5 inches might not sound like a game changer on paper, but trust me, at 30,000 feet, that extra space is absolute gold. Let's look at the financial logic here, because this is where the strategy really shines. Your standard base ticket will run you, somewhere between $1,700 and $2,200. Want to jump all the way up to a fully lie-flat business class seat? You're looking at dropping upwards of $6,000. But that economy comfort upgrade? It's usually just $75 to $160 each way. So when you compare spending an extra $100 or so versus shelling out $6,000, it's literally the most practical way to make this flight tolerable. Honestly, making this tiny investment ensures you don't arrive on a whole different continent feeling completely wrecked.
Okay, Section 3, the Johannesburg layover. You've survived the flight, you've touched down, but this is where we pivot to the single biggest logistical blunder unwary travelers make right after clearing customs.
There is absolutely a wrong way and a right way to handle this. The wrong way? Doing what everybody else does. They land in the late afternoon, clear customs, meet their outfitter, and immediately cram into a van for a 3 to 5 hour drive into the pitch-black bush. You roll into camp exhausted, and worse, you blow the best part of your first morning just sighting in your rifle. Now, the right way? You land, head straight to a local guest house, grab a hot meal, and get a real, horizontal night of sleep. Then, you enjoy a relaxed morning, do a little shopping, and roll into camp in the afternoon daylight. Let's walk through this perfect itinerary step by step. Step 1, you clear customs. Step 2, you head to a highly recommended spot, like the African Sky Boutique Hotel. Our source material points them out specifically because they will literally pick you up right at the airport, the security is top-notch, and the food is fabulous. Step 3, you wake up refreshed, have breakfast, your professional hunter picks you up, and you actually have time to hit a wine store or a local grocery. Step 4, you arrive at camp in the daylight, acclimate, and get that rifle sighted in before dinner. Boom! You are completely primed and ready for day one. And this is absolutely crucial, perfectly summed up by this quote from our source. Remember, you may not see a town or stores again for several days. That relaxed morning stop for supplies? It isn't just a luxury, it's an insider secret. If you've got a craving for a specific brand of wine around the campfire or your favorite snacks, this is your one and only window to grab them. You literally cannot afford to skip this step.
Which brings us to Section 4, navigating regional baggage rules. You're rested, you've got your snacks, but now you have to pack smart for those incredibly strict regional and charter flights.
And this brilliantly illustrates the catch. The further you get from that major international hub, the more the rules shrink. On your big international economy flight, you usually get 2 checked bags at 50 pounds each, totally free. But the second you hop on a domestic flight in South Africa, even if it's the exact same airline brand, that drops. You might only get one free bag. And when you finally squeeze onto a tiny charter flight to reach a remote bush camp, you are down to just one soft duffel bag and your firearms. That is it.
So keep this number burned in your brain. 44. 44 pounds, or 20 kilos, is almost always the max weight per bag for domestic South African flights. If you maxed out your bags to that 50-pound international limit, well, you're going to get hit with some serious sticker shock at the domestic counter. They will absolutely charge you for the overage on your first bag, and they're definitely going to charge you for a second bag. Do your homework here so you don't feel like you're getting held up for extra cash at the airport.
Now let's talk about those charter flights. They almost exclusively demand a soft duffel bag. Hard-sided suitcases literally will not fit into the tiny cargo holds of those bush planes. So how on earth do you pack for a long trip with just one soft duffel, a gun case, and a carry-on? Well, here's the major pro tip. Almost all of these remote camps offer daily laundry service. Use it! Seriously, relying on camp laundry as the absolute secret weapon to packing light enough to actually make it onto the charter.
Oh, and don't forget your carry-on. Just like your check bags, that allowance shrinks too. Usually, you're restricted to just one bag, and get this, it can't weigh more than a measly 17 pounds. You have to be incredibly strategic.
So what actually makes the cut for that 17 pounds? Just your absolute top-tier essentials. We're talking binoculars, cameras, prescriptions, your passport, jewelry, watches, and cash. All of this needs to stay on your person or locked inside your carry-on. And our source drops a very real word of warning here. If you have to pop into the airport police office, say to process your firearms, make absolutely sure someone is watching your bags or just drag them right in with you. Keep them locked. It's not about being paranoid, right? It's just being street smart while you're in transit. Ultimately, mastering these logistics, springing for that seat upgrade, resting up in Joburg, and ruthlessly managing your baggage weight, that is the real secret to a successful trip. The 17-hour flight might be a beast, but ask anyone who's been. You'll endure it all over again in a heartbeat just to get back to Africa. So, what does this all mean for you? Take a hard look at your gear. The 17-hour flight is the hardest part, but are you packed smartly enough to make the journey back to Africa without getting grounded at the check-in counter? Think about it. Thanks for hanging out with me on this explainer, and safe travels.